All right, so I started the recording and welcome to this class on this Monday morning, History of Architecture. I think I have my screen shared, yeah. So you can see that we're working through the different styles. We talked about how many styles are out there. Oh, wow, like a lot. And that's why we did that timeline project. If you haven't done that yet, a couple people didn't do it. It is assignment one, where each person kind of looked for a significant building that represented that style. When you were looking at that project, did you look at how big timeline is? Did you see how many styles there are in architecture? And some are significant for us to, to pick up and learn from. And we started with the prehistory and Egyptian. We did a couple of hand sketches there, which is kind of our pattern a little bit. We're going to have just a few small written assignments, but not any major essay questions, so you don't have to cringe at, at that. I'm going to put the dates as kind of a guide through what we talked about and where we're at. Especially, I guess I should put, let me just see, we do have a spring break, which is just in case you want to do some pre-planning, March 3rd through 9th, where the school is closed. I guess I could open up that one and pull it up here so that you can see it. Right. So I see what you see. All right. So today we're going to take a look at Greek and Roman architecture, and we'll do a worksheet. Guys, I can print that worksheet right now if you'd like to fill it out um, in in the classroom. If you're at home there, you can download it and start to fill it out. It is a Word document, so you can fill in the blanks if you'd like as well. What do you think? Should we print it so you can kind of see all of them? These are the questions that we're going to answer today, and as part of what we're looking at and learning about significant buildings. Should I print it? Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes it's nice to see the printed document to kind of fill it in as we're going. I might even like to print one for myself to help make sure that, well, the lecture has all the answers in it. So I'll just print 10. Oh, not 110. That many. 11 if you want one for yourself. Okay. Is there another person I missed? Oh, all right. So I'm not gonna pick those up, but you guys can go grab them. Somebody grab one for me and put it here. Maybe Lisa, you can grab one. Thank you. There are 3 pages on that. big- big- Then we are going to have just one sketch, one hand sketch. Just so you can kind of grasp the different classical orders, the columns that are still used today a lot. When you drive around, if I'm sure you've seen it, especially in big cities. When you drive through, there's always a building, usually a bank. Oh, Lisa, you don't have to hand those out. If you want to just put them on a, they might not want them. I don't know if you want them. Hey, Lisa, sir. Thank you. No, it's all in one packet. Yeah, it's like 3 pages, 3 pages. Lisa, Um, so if you drive through, especially a city, or see any like federal banks or any institution, a lot of formal houses that are in Grosse Pointe or Mount Clemens, you see, and also everywhere really. The different columns, and they have names to them for you to understand. And be able to like talk the talk, right? You wanna be able to talk the talk and, think about what you use for in your design. I mean, I've definitely used these, and we're gonna take a look at if you at some of that. So thank you, Lisa. So what I did was I posted those things ahead of time, the presentation, the worksheet that we have in front of us, and also the hand sketches that we're gonna work on, kind of simple class to keep everything organized. It's a PowerPoint presentation that kind of walks through the topics that we're going to be looking at. And I'm hoping my voice makes it through the whole thing. Now, I have to admit that I'm knowledgeable about all of these things that have happened through our lifetime, throughout history, but I'm not like an expert on all of it. Like the guy who taught us at Lawrence Tech it was a whole year of history, like a walking dictionary of all of this. So if there are any parts of this that you want to learn more about, I encourage you to like be curious and think, wait, I'd like to see if that's still there, or I'd like to learn more about that style because it appeals to me, right? And so some of our projects, they're going to be like, let's compare what is something that happened in history as far as architectural styles, and then what we're using now, and show the different images. Oh, sorry. So the Greek and the Romans were so different in attitude. The Greeks were kind of philosophers and very calm, and the Romans just the opposite. Let's kill people in the Colosseum, and I'm sure you've seen movies like that. Have you seen the Gladiators? Oh, that's such a good. I love the new one too, but the original Gladiators, along with a lot of other movies that had the Colosseum, showed the different things that were in it. I was so excited. I even like poked my mom, was like, Mom, I teach that. Because a lot of people don't know that the Colosseum had filled up with water, and they had like ships that were battling each other. And in the movie, they did that. So it's like, yes, because people might not have known that, right? Okay, so sometimes movies are good, representations of his history as well. So the Greeks, most important of all Greek architecture was the temples and shrines that were built for their, gods and goddesses. I think this is the Athena, and I think she's like 60 feet tall, really high. Somebody looked that up. How tall was she? And you guys have computers, or you have phones. How tall was the Athena, Greek goddess that was, you can tell, somebody online can tell me too. How tall was the statue? I think it was 60 feet, right?
13 meters.
Which is, how many feet? 42 feet. How many feet? 42 feet. 42 feet. I thought she was taller than that.
I think the extra inches, I'd say probably closer to like 50. Because a meter's what, 3 foot?
With the bottom part, I'm gonna say 50 feet, because I thought it was 60 feet. Okay, that's pretty tall to create a whole shrine around enclosing this huge statue, and that was 400 40-ish BC before Christ, which is after the prehistory in Egyptian that we were talking about. But you can see how beautiful this shrine is to Athena. And so it was kind of built on this Acropolis. You might have heard about the city of Athens. And so built up on this big hill and of high importance, all the scholars could go there while everyone else was in the city down below. The term Acropolis means upper city, or many of the city states built around this Acropolis of them. And so, so the most sacred buildings, like what we just looked at, are on this Acropolis. Has anyone been there? Has anyone been there? Oh, it's nice. It's crazy because when you look at it now, and I've got some pictures of that, you really have to know what it used to look like in order to feel it, right? Yeah, I know. I'm glad that you had an opportunity to go there because there's not that much left of it, but enough to kind of know what it looked like. And we're going to be taking a look at the Parthenon and other buildings that were built on this Acropolis. Here's another kind of hand sketch of it to show all the different pieces. There was kind of this builder or architect of some of the buildings. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyone want to take a stab of it?
Themistocles.
Themistocles. I'm gonna Ryan. You're gonna be my interpreter. So you can see the main entrance there with these 6 huge columns, and we're going to take a look at the different orders they're called. Columns, one of them is Doric, and Doric is the first kind of main column that we're going to be taking a look at. 5 feet in diameter. Can you just imagine 5 feet in diameter? And that was the main entrance once you went up all these stairs, and you can see there's like this little ramp there. And 29 feet high. That's grand. Like you go up there, wow. Right, that's like a main city type of entrance. So most of the Greek architecture was construction of limestone, rock, marble, and materials rich and decorated in gold. We don't see that right now as it stands, but we have a lot of pictures and paintings that showed it. And so architects we had all of these things that they were besides being builders, they were scholars and sculptors. A lot of things that went with that position. Here it is here. I thought this was a really great picture because you can see those columns in the front, and then you can see the Parthenon in the back that we're going to be taking a look at. This is what it looks like today. Kind of hard to tell, but we have drawings and pictures of it. It still feels good though, right? For those of you who went there, did you feel like it, you were in a significant place?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could still like feel the grandness of it. They really kept a lot of the buildings. You can see over here, you can still kind of feel what it still is now. Cool. So the Parthenon is one of the major buildings, significant buildings, the largest temple on that Greek mainland. It a place of gathering and worship as well as representation of that Greek power. Power, in theory, right? Not as much in wars as Romans could see. All right. So the Parthenon, I think one thing that came out of Greek architecture was this symmetry of the columns and how everything has kind of an order to it with all these the colonnade that goes all the way around. And everything is kind of proportional when you look at the layout of it, these huge steps that are coming up to it, and a lot of math involved in this. We're going to be taking a look at some of that as well. So this is kind of what we're thinking is the color that was in it. built of marble with timber roof. Um, and highly polished, so shiny kind of object in a way, um, to represent the Greek power and stability. And if you read through here, you can take a look at decorative sculpture that was within this part of the entablature, it's called. We'll take a look at the different parts of it. But this is kind of a cool thing that we're seeing right here. And I looked this up, but I forgot how to say that in Ryan,
Cases.
and emphasis. The Greek builders used this technique where they bulge the column slightly, the shaft of it, and it's designed to counter the visual impression of concavity that a perfectly straight column would give. So when you go up to this Parthenon and you're down below and you look up, they like curve the columns to visually change it so that we see it in a different way. And so there's some real thinking here of how we visually see these tall, old um, columns. So that's kind of good planning as an architect to kind of like change the way that we can visually see something. And this right here represents the breakdown of all of the different pieces of this building, or really the Greek buildings. We're going to talk about the columns as we move forward, but you can see that on the left side is the Doric order, it's called. So when we say order, classical order, we're talking about the column or the way that it was, because it was really organized, right? It as well. And then you notice on the left side that the Doric column is really simple at the top. One of the things you should really know is like the top of the column is called a capital. The top of the column right there, you see how you got that kind of note right there. So the column capital for the Doric was very plain. It was without any real decoration. And there's a shaft, and the shaft is like fluted, but there's no base. See at the base there. This is kind of like the first of them, and very non-decorative, right? And then on the right-hand side, the Ionic order has these kind of scrolls. They're called volutes. Volute. Okay, he's gonna be, I can tell. And so you see these kind of like scrolls at the corners, and that's the Ionic. Plus, it not only did it have like the shaft, it was actually more indented in these like flutes. But we see a base as well here. Uh-oh, what happened to my, are you guys still with me online? There's something happened. There we go. So this whole top part is called an entablature. And in this tablature, you see all these different other pieces that are in it, like the frieze. The frieze is where we saw all that decorative art and kind of different relief sculptures in there. The cornice, which we still use the word cornice. We use the word cornice to represent the end of the roof line. And this kind of triangular piece called a pediment, all listed, also have a lot of artwork and sculptures in it. So these are the different parts of that. Some other photos of the way that it looks now. You can see that the columns are Doric. Very simple, no base. And then this is the ionic order with the kind of scrolls, volutes, with the base there at the bottom. And you can see all the sculpture that's happening right up here in the frieze. It's very decorative, very organized as well. So the Corinthian order is that third really classical column and has some of those same like scrolls, but it's really leafy, a lot of um vegetation. So in fact, look at how much they break this down into showing that there's stalks and leaves and um those same kind of scrolls that we saw in the Ionic column. So even now today, when you go online and you look for classical orders, you'll find these PVC type of columns that you can order that clearly show these three names on them. So if a client is interested, you know, it's nice for you to know you know what they're called and how to order them. We'll take a look at some of that we're using now as well. Okay, and then these are kind of cool, really, because I had to look up like carotids. These are female shaped supported columns. Um, and that's all on the um, Acropolis and all the different temples that are there. So I might not spend a whole lecture on one style. So if you feel like the Greek architecture is interesting to you, then we just have a lot of styles to work with throughout the semester. You can, you know, go take a look and look at more about them. I'm sure you've seen some of it in the movies as well. Um, Now there was a, an area where Etruscans lived and the Romans kind of took them over, conquered them. But these Etruscans originally were the ones who we find out influenced the Romans, as well as the Greek, but with this huge arch, but not just the arch, but it's a, called a barrel vault. It's a vault, barrel vault, and there's other words for it too. We're going to be taking a look at. You can see that it has depth. It has depth. So some of the first Roman architecture had these really like tunnel like arches and used for storage facilities as well. Okay, we'll come back to that a little bit, but I just wanted to point out that everybody thinks, you know, the arch originally came from Roman, which, you know, they perfected it for sure and did a lot more with it in the style, but originally from this little village here with the Etruscans. All right, well, there are more than three columns that are recognized. Although those three that we talked about are the three right here in the middle, where and honestly the most popular. But if you see from left to right, the Tuscans actually had this even, you know, plainer kind of stripped of those little indents or those lines in the column, these flutes. So the first one here is Tuscan, and then you have the Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, and then you have something called composite. Composite is like taking the Ionic and the Corinthian and putting them together. So you see all this these leaves, but in the vegetation, but you also see those like flutes, those volutes, volutes. So these are the five to kind of like know, right? You should know the three at least. They came from the classical order of columns. We see them all the time, used even now in new buildings, especially those of, power or kind of formal architecture like banks, mostly banks and big institutions. So this is the story of where that fifth order was developed. Um, and then later on, uh, way later, 1400s, was closet was documented by a couple of writers, Vitruvius. We'll be talking more about them as we move forward. Okay. Maybe this slide should be a little, no, I thought maybe this should be a little earlier, but I think that the idea behind it being here is to show you the typical Etruscan temples, which they're no longer with us. This is us documenting them before they were destroyed. You can see that column, which is really kind of plain. And it only had one entrance here. It wasn't like a full stairs across like we saw with the Greeks. Wait, I think I actually. Oh. The other. Wait. I added another note in here. So we'll go through, we'll go through some of these. I added another note in here, but I don't see it here, so I'll make sure that. Take a look at the materials, kind of the building process. So the Egyptians built with, we saw this a little bit, that sun-dried brick and large stone blocks. We were looked at that in the pyramids. The Greeks with the limestone and marble, decorative, but the Romans really perfected two things. Brick making, and mostly the Romans builders perfected concrete. They were able to figure out the mixture, and that was a huge explosion of different things. And develop it in the most structural medium. So they used concrete. The Egyptians, Greeks, Etruscans, and others experimented with these arch forms, but it was the Romans that were the first to combine the structural program of the arch, vault, and concrete in a new way, an effective way. So that's why, although the arch did come originally in a few buildings there in the Etruscan world, it was the Romans that really picked up the arch. And these are the different pieces of the construction of arches. We still use this today. We have this material, and these are some of the questions on these of these 26 questions. The centering was the wood forms that were used. And we kind of all know from, maybe most of us know from just maybe life, that the top middle stone was called the keystone. And there is a word though here for these curved ones, and I used to know how to say that. And I looked it up, but I didn't, again, reservoirs. Yeah, so this is the name of these curved ones that come across. They're there's big names for each of this construction. Yeah, and I think that's one of the questions as well. But the relieving arch is very significant for us, because we see us using this and the whole idea of support over openings. The relieving arches, this arch built over the lintel in order to deflect the over laying loads. So we saw this in the pyramid. Remember that main pharaoh's tombstone had that triangular shape that kind of deflected the loads. And now we are seeing that we're using these arches. Now, a lot of times these arches were just covered over. They were more of structural engineering idea than they were for the looks of it. So over time, by extending the depth of the arch, it became this vault and became kind of a functional element. The vault that extended the arch in depth was called it was called a tunnel or a barrel vault. And you can see that with those arrows, you see how the loads come down and through the different walls. But they didn't let a lot of light in. So these were used for storage mostly, because they couldn't really be in that space with it being so, so dark. So eventually we started to see this kind of pattern. Sorry. We started to see, give me a minute. This kind of pattern where the designers, I love that we've been so smart over time. Even now, architects and engineers, and we use our creative minds to come up with, different ways to use materials but more effectively. So by crisscrossing these barrels, the loads were now brought down into the intersections of those. Do you see that? It's kind of cool that they came up with that. So this cross vaulting was invented. And later, when we look at Gothic architecture, it's even more perfected because you see those lines. If you look, let me see if I can. No, okay. If you see these lines that are like up underneath the vault, those are the groins. They're called groin, like along the intersection. These kind of like lines that represent the intersections. Right now, you see them as kind of intersections, but later on, we'll see that the Gothic architecture added more structure to those groins, and then became more of even more effective groin vaulting. So the weight is concentrated over the corners. Now we can see more light getting in and used for the Roman structures. Still not a lot of light because it's a solid piece. Very thick walls, very thick columns. So the other main thing that the Romans really perfected was this true dome. True dome. The grandest type of vault. It's like a vault, but it goes all the way as a pure sphere right down to the floor. The dome may be thought of in two ways: as an arch rotated 360 degrees, or a set of horizontal arched rings. So the dome is really represented in this pantheon. I still get the Parthenon and the Pantheon mixed up if I don't talk about them often, because they have kind of similar words, right? So the Parthenon with an R is the Greek temple that we were looking at. The Pantheon, this one, is the one that has that pure dome that comes out. Anybody go to this? Oh my gosh. Both of you guys, yay. I mean, there are only a handful of buildings that, I mean, I've been overseas, but you can't see it all. At this point, I'm not really interested in going back, but if I did and there were a list of buildings, this would be one building I'd love, 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 I'd love to see. The Pantheon. The Pantheon, was like the best representation of Roman architecture. And I did write in here that the Parthenon was like the Greek architecture that was kind of significant. So, hey, structural engineering at it, as we move through time, we see these significant shifts in engineering and visions. Even architects will have like a vision of engineering ideas and work with engineers to make it happen even more. A lot of things have happened even in the last 10 years. Are different conversations that we'll take a look at as we get there. Look at the inside of this Pantheon. Oh, wow. So there's this big opening in the roof. Here we got these coffered ceiling, and the sun comes around and hits these different areas. Anyone who's been there want to add something to that?
The echo is
Echo?
like
It-
it sounds,
Yeah,
and it's really quiet and people don't talk.
I imagine because it's so tall and so circular that it would bounce off and make it like this echo for sure. Anything else? Okay. Okay. Great place to potentially visit. Another thing that we saw, engineering feats of Romans were these aqueducts. There was, they looked for a way to bring water to the city. And huge supplies of water were brought to the city by creating these aqueducts. The water is running along here, the top of these arches, and all based on gravity. You can imagine that is just a huge engineering accomplishment to be able to bring water to the cities, and that's why you'll see a lot of events based on water, like the baths, the big city baths that we'll talk about, and those shipwrecks that bringing it in and underground to the Colosseum. Look at 11 aqueducts running across villages and valleys, spanning over rivers. One aqueduct brought water from a 45-mile distance. That's huge. Of which over 9.5 miles were arches. So imagine the grandness of these arches that were structurally, look at, you can see how the loads are coming down into the bigger columns there. Some over 100 feet in height. Can you just, imagine that? Did you guys see those? Did you see the aqueducts?
There's one in Florence, in Firenze, that's they actually like people were living on that bridge slash aqueduct.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, this one here was 160 feet in height and 880 feet long. Romans built lower bridges using the same construction. I don't have a picture of it. I don't know why I should. Maybe it's down there at the bottom. I used to have a specific picture of this little triangular solid piece that was at the base of the piers. that kind of controlled the rush of the water. So just like anything in life, you start to design something and it's working, but it's not perfected. And over time, the water's rushing onto those columns. And in order to like divert the water, they came up with the design of these huge triangular piers that are at the base so that the water can go, around the column, which can make sense. All right. Coliseum. Yeah. We love the Coliseum. I do too. And, to this day, there are concerts in there. I'm sure you've seen movies as well. One that comes to mind is this movie. What was it called? Where the guy can jump from one time to another. Was it just called Jump? It's called Jump. Yeah, I'm sure that you've seen a couple of movies, but in this movie, the guy can jump through time. He discovers that he's got that ability. Or he can jump from one place to another. And he goes inside the Coliseum and you can see a lot of the background of what it looks like now. But also, yeah, look at the gladiators and movies that some of these movies, like the Gladiator, did you see? They're showing these like kind of ramps and pulleys that had like man-made elevators because they would like lift people up through these holes and animals through these holes in the floor. And there's a whole system of different pulleys and ramps that are happening in the bottom part, as well as water that's coming from these aqueducts down into the ground and filling the stadium for these, battleships. Like, they added this triangular piece here that wasn't originally there. That's just to kind of help support the wall as it was starting to decay. I just want to point that out to you. So the kind of cool thing about the Coliseum I mean, there are a lot of cool things about this Coliseum, but it has all three of the orders, the columns. Look at the bottom. The bottom is Doric, and the next one is Ionic, and then the next one is the Corinthian. So it like brought in all of the different columns, the three that we're talking about. Also, I think I have some pictures. I'll talk to you about it as well. I think I have some pictures of this, but I want to tell you, you see these little like concrete pieces that are sticking out here. It's thought of that there was some kind of canopy and it was like a pole that came down and rested inside these, and then it kind of held the canopy. I think I have another. So this was 70 to 80 AD, seating 50,000 spectators. The Coliseum expanded the scale of theaters. We're going to talk about the theaters as well as we look at this presentation. Beneath the area floor, extensive tunnels, chambers, we talked about that, mechanical devices, naval displays, battles, mock battles with this hydraulic provisions and artificial flooding, 15-foot barrier walls. So they really mastered that. And something else is not in here, maybe it's in the next slide. No. Is that, when you go into a stadium now, you only have so many entrances. And you go into the stadium and you go into an entrance and you have to walk all the way around to get to your seat. Well, the way that they could get everyone in and out of this Coliseum is that they had several entrances. So people entered from all different areas around it and just went right up to their seats, came back down. So it was kind of easy to I mean, now with security and everything, we have to have like less entrances, but that was kind of a way to pull people out quickly. Um, yeah, and this is just talking about some of the things that we just, about the gladiators, um, that were really in real life, a thing. And look at, you can see the artwork there, battling it out, the great fighters. And they were kind of highlighted in significant people during these battles. And you can see it by the mosaics and things around it. That was good. Okay, yeah, I guess the next slide shows it, but these are some other pictures of it. You see the up at the top, this is a model of what it would look like. It has these wood pieces that are holding the canopy up and sculptures in each one of these arches. And I think this is, yeah, here it is. These are the pictures that showing that canopy, like a roof that doesn't exist anymore, but there's some uh, things left behind that we can deduct from and figure this out. There's those ships right there in that picture. All right, this is what it looks like today. It does have a stage and it has a big walkway there. You use it for concerts and different events. Was that in? Was the Gladiator? Was this building in one of the John Wick movies? I think it was. No, John Wick, these chases. I think there were one of the John Wick movies, I think, was in this. Because all the lights were on and it showed all the shadows from the lights. I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, and is this like the same one? It's pretty close. I think this one just has more of it, like the sequencing of the columns and curved facade. And also I did miss saying this, that the fourth story up here had these pilasters. And can you see that up at the top? They have this Corinthian top here, but it's a pilaster is not really support. We still use this word. We still use this in architecture. If you have like a part of the wall that is coming out, it kind of looks like a column, it's a pilaster. We use it a lot in our design. It's not only decorative, but sometimes there is actually a column behind it. But just pushes out the wall a little bit. Okay, so this talks about those wooden masts that picked up that awning. And of course, if you watch a lot of the different Roman movies, you'll see that the city was built based on all these places, just like kind of like the Greeks too, gathering spaces for higher ups to, the philosophers to talk about um, things of more importance, I guess. And so we have theaters, amphitheaters, basilicas, baths. And then, of course, we have the stadiums like the chariot races, Circus Maximus. This is that really long kind of track. If you've watched movies like Ben-Hur, or what's a newer movie that had that chariot races anyway? I think it was a newer movie, but Ben-Hur was a movie that had the chariot races. This is kind of what it looks like today, but no, this is not what it looks like today. This is what it looked like before, because I have the next slide is how it looks like today. But mostly for chariot races here. Big event, 250,000 spectators. And so here's how it did look. It's kind of a nice a big, important event. But this is how it looks now. Not that much is left, but from paintings and sculptures and things, you can kind of figure out how it did look. All right, let's take a look at the difference between the Greek theater and the Roman theater. In general, you can see that they're right away when you go from one slide to the other, you can kind of see the overall feeling of it. The Greek had these three elements: the horseshoe shaped auditorium, the circular like stage, and a small rectangular stage or building behind it. So it was more open to the landscape, not so closed off. Used a horizontal beam over support backdrop along the top of the stage. So it really included the landscape in nature. It wasn't like as much barbaric spectacles like what we see in the Roman theater, which is more closed off. Once you're in, you're in. The shape of the theater was reduced to a half circle with these huge, massive stage backdrops, kind of closed the architecture to the environment. And they were used for, fight to the end, not not as civil as the Greek architecture. Okay, so I thought about keep going and like adding even more styles so that we can get like faster up to more in the last 500 years or so. But I think that this combined with this worksheet that you could finish today, did you guys find the answers to these?
Yeah.
Most of them.
Did you get most of them? Good.
There's one, I did.
Yeah, there might have been one that I didn't put in the so which one is it?
Talk about the permanent theater building in Pompeii.
What number?
23.
Okay, what do you think? Let's take a quick look. It's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, I know. I think that was the one that I changed. Yeah, I think that's the one that I changed. Let me take a look. Yeah, 23. Is you want to cross off that first sentence? Because the picture is right there, but that's a different building. The question on number 23, that first sentence is going back to a picture of an amphitheater, which is different. So the answer to 23 is the Coliseum. And how you spell it? Dolos. Okay, and also to give you time to just, finish this today and move forward. There it is right there. We could use this as a way to draw these columns. Now, guys, you don't have to draw the whole column. What I'm looking for is the top and the bottom. So you see how like this one is showing the top. You see how this one, okay, you see how this one has like a little break line there? Right, so it's totally up to you. Some students have just decided to make this really an art project and do the whole thing, put some shadowing in it, you know. I do have some paper here if you want to just knock it out right here. I have a whole pile of paper here. Anybody wanna grab some paper and just do it today? Yeah. You could put them all on the same sheet, you could turn it landscape. I mean, maybe you don't wanna use the paper, I don't know, it's up to you. So, the idea is to like help you to, help you to kind of grasp some of this by either writing something or drawing something. And, it might give you some graphics for your portfolio as well. Like some students have used their drawings to kind of create a portion of their portfolio that has all of these historic things that are hand sketched. I have one pencil here. Yeah, she's got.
Or,
Yeah.
The Etruscans have their own column design called the blank order. Is that Tuscan or?
That's Tuscan.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, that's Tuscan. Yeah. And we don't need to draw that. It's your choice. This is you, you know, I'm just myself. I'd like you to draw the main three. But if you want to draw five, that would be great. Like better for your, you know, experiences. And what I'm really looking for is for you to label them. So you could turn the page landscape and draw all, like draw a couple lines like down the middle, and that's gonna be like your break line. You know, draw a line up the top that's gonna represent the top of your column, couple 2 lines for your break, 1 line at the bottom for the base. And then each one, so it's up to you if you do it now or, you know, later, but my thought is I'm designing this class so that you could finish all that we're doing during the class time. Like, no homework, guys. I've always been a pretty big supporter of no homework. Except for the design studios. The design studios, you know, you might need a little more time to kind of think it out and design and, you know, create. But the idea is that you and this is just an idea in case you didn't hear me, you know, draw a line at the top, draw 2 lines in the middle, draw 1 line at the bottom, make sure you have enough room at the bottom to say what the names of each column are. And then draw just the capital. You don't have to, it's up to you, but you don't have to draw all of this entablature. You don't have to draw the entablature. It's more like like this would be the top of the Corinthian with 2 lines going down to represent the you know the column part. But it's your choice. So like up here, I'm only looking for, oops, from the top of the column capital right here to the bottom of the base. This part, the capital, the shaft, and the base. For all three of these. And everybody can go on Canvas and take a look at all the different slides. You can even go, you know, online and if you need more photos of it, but I think I'll go back to this to show you that we have these 5 styles. You want to do all 5? That'd be kind of nice for your learning skills, but the 3 in the middle are like the main 3 that we see way more in our architecture of today. The Doric, the Ionic, and the Corinthian. This is what they're called: the Tuscan, the Doric, the Ionic, the Corinthian, and the Classic. And we have I over time I've collected all these columns. I bought them for my house as like plant stands, but then I realized that I could bring them into the classroom for people to, you know, learn from. So you'll see them over in M building. in room like 202 and 210. I didn't bring them all in, 'cause I still have, actually, I think I only have the Corinthian at home. Well, when we move over here and we're sharing this space with another program, I won't be able to put them in here, but I can put them over in the room across the hall. 107 is supposed to be more our space. So any questions, guys?
I have a question for the assignments for number 9. One of the reasons it's important that the Truscott City Gates survive is to reveal early knowledge of the blank and blank. One of those is a column, and
What do you think, guys? Help her out. What do you think number 9 is?
did brick making and concrete.
Brick and concrete, maybe? That arch is involved.
Yeah, I bought them too, but
You know what? All of the above. I'm gonna take all of the above. Because, there were a lot of things that came out of that and I don't wanna, be limited to say that. I mean, you could just go on and say all of those, but I'm just gonna go ahead and, I think what I actually said were, arches and concrete, but let's just see what I put in. Yep, you're right, arches and bare bolts, arches and bolts. But we'll accept any of those. And I think we've talked about all of them. Really glad that somebody actually did find all of these in the presentation, so you can work on those. Any other ones? I'm all ears to help you. It's more about doing it than it is like getting them all right. I mean, getting a grade. It showed up. If you're online, yeah, go ahead. What are the ones?
13, I just wanted to make sure we were talking about. The Parthenon. You're referring to?
Parthenon. The temple was on Mount Benjamin. Yep, the Parthenon. Yeah. Remember, there's some R in it, because I get so North 13 is true, and we're talking about the Parthenon. I get the Pantheon and the Parthenon mixed up, but the R in Parthenon goes with the Greek. Yeah,
So in your slide, it says.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
It says a place of gathering and worship as well as a representation of Greek power. But you have that one, it's true.
Which was
13.
back where there's Athena, back.
Yeah, I'm looking at the slide.
Yeah, this is good. I'm glad you're asking, because I read it all right. But I think it's this one, right? Is it 13?
No, I'm looking at a different slide. Maybe
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides.
Yeah, good question, because although it is a place of worship and symbolic for the statue and, worshiping that god or goddess, it did also represent great power in the same way. So that's a really great point. In fact, I'm gonna add that to number 13. Good one, Lisa. If you put together my.
You also said host on that one, not housed.
No, in on the actual sheet.
Actual question says,
What question? Oh, you're.
instead of symbolic dwelling. Old statute.
You're-
proposed.
Posed. Thank you. Posed. Well, yeah, tell me. Glad you're looking. Oh, good question. Any other questions or? Available after class too. If you are a person that would like to stay and talk to me or ask questions about the questions or the information. I always allow for some time after the lecture, but I think I'm gonna start putting more information in each week so we can get through time faster. I mean, this works because it does comfortably bring us through to get to like the last 500 years or so. And I think history is important to us. Like just, I personally kind of like things that came out after the Industrial Revolution. When we started to use steel more and there was like this explosion of all different styles. Before that, there was like, you know, there were other cultures that were developing styles, but it was predominantly a handful that were the ones that you used. Like a book. So I like the explosion of all different things that we saw after that in the 1900s-ish. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about the architects. The architects and bills that we have like the ones that are still completely with us.
Do you want us to physically turn these in or just take a picture of them?
You know, I'm gonna open it up to whatever you guys wanna do. If you wanna put your names on them and just put them right there on that table, I will document it before I leave that you finished it. If you want to, post it online, that's okay too. I'm pretty open. I think that everyone learns differently and everyone has different capabilities of technology as well. So I try to be as flexible as I can be for convenience as well as time and convenience and knowledge overall. I'm sure that Lisa, I know you are really tech savvy, like you would be able to like take a picture of those and post those within seconds, but if you want to just go ahead and put it right there, as long as your name's on it, you can put it right there. Yep. Nope. Go ahead and put it there. I think I can, as long as I don't like drop them all on the floor and they go flying all over the place. At least you have your name on it. As long as you have your name on it, I'm good. Hopefully I'll be able to knock this cold out of me here. Hey, the time is actually, no, it's not. I need to put a request in and fix that clock. Like, just take it down. Backwards? Like in what way? So weird, right? Oh, cool. Cool. I shouldn't say cool. Like not cool, but different. That's for sure. Are able to hold and things that are there. I'm pretty healthy all across the board. I have absolutely no health concerns. All of my blood level work is like all in. I'm not like thousands of people that take um, medication for any of that, but there's, I'm still like faced with these quick colds. Any questions?
Oh, yeah, can we turn these in or just do one? Okay.
As long as your name's on it.
Oh,
Yep. You can do it anyway. You can put your name on it, you get it in right there. You can, take a picture of it and post it online. I'm going to grade these right now, like before I leave. So, done. And one of the best architects that I've worked with right after college, he was department manager. What I really admired about him is if he could do it right there, he would just get it done. Instead of putting things on these endless lists. If he had a dinner to put out and he had time, he'd just do it. And then I learned that from him because his list wasn't as long, right? Because he was knocking things out as he was going. And I think that is just a really,
That's the key to being truly lazy.
but it's a key to being very organized and very, I'm able to get shit done. Like even at the house, if I put something off that only takes 5 minutes, it just builds with everything else. It takes 5 minutes, but if I knock it out,
If you just do everything up front, you never have anything to do. Lazy.
that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. But I feel like if I do it as I go, I can keep everything organized and not have this added stress of all that I need to do, right? It's almost like or like cleaning as you go, or like putting things away as you use them. Kids got better at that. But when she was a teenager, it was like she'd just open something up and it'd be on the counter. Like, wait a minute, just take 2 seconds to throw that in the garbage. Because not only do I have to do it, but over time, it becomes like a bigger mess, right? So just little things like that. But in architecture, when you're working with projects, you got a lot going on, just get it done as you're going, and you can just do more and feel organized. In fact, I'm just gonna grab these and do it right now.
are you smart on computers?
Max.
Would you know how to get things from desktop into OneDrive?
Oh, yeah. That's
So up your file manager.
It's good to
You
ask.
have a folder, but here you go browser.
I wasn't able to install the.
Oh, gosh, I forgot to,
Gotcha.
stop recording, so. Yeah, if you guys had any
Yep.
questions, you could ask me. I kept it recording and I was longer than I need to be. Okay.